What is up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus. Today it is our championship score predictions. We're on match day 29 now. We've got some crazy games and some very interesting scenarios we're going to deal with here. Before we move on, this is what the current Lexalexus Football Prediction Leagues are taking place. I've included last weekend and midweek's games to accumulate these points. We had an incredible game week. Owen getting 14 points, Joshua Frood getting 14 points in total, Honeygun getting 12, Matt Payne getting 15 in total. Some brilliant scores today. I managed to pick up 11 points from last weekend and the midweek. I only picked up 1 point in midweek, so last weekend was definitely my better game week. This is what the League One table is looking like. A lot of movement here, and I've got to say congratulations to Dwoy, who is being promoted from League 2 to the League 1 league. So huge congratulations here. And this is what the current Lexalexus Football League 2 looks like. If you guys want to participate in these leagues, all you got to do is simply comment your score predictions in the championship in the comments down below. It's completely free to do, and it's a very, very friendly competition. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Let's aim for 20 likes in this video. That'd be terrifically appreciative. Please hit the red subscribe button if you've not done so, because we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. If we can get there as soon as we can, that'd be absolutely amazing. And please share this channel as well as to as many as people as you can. That is how we're going to grow the future of this channel. That would really, really help. But without any further ado, let's start predicting these weekend's games. So the first game to predict is Huddersfield going up against Stoke City. Both teams wanting to have a place in the top 6 place. One of those teams in the top 6 as of now, which is Huddersfield Town. Now obviously Huddersfield played quite a fair few more games than a lot of the teams in the championship. They've played 28 games so far. They've actually not missed a game, which would be game 29. Stoke, on the other hand, do have one game in hand over Huddersfield, and they can really capitalize on that. If they win this game and they win that game in hand, they can match Huddersfield with points. So it's a very important game for Stoke, especially if they want to close into those top 6 places, because a win for Huddersfield, it will definitely make things a lot more difficult for Stoke to try and get into this top 6. Huddersfield had a very crazy game last time with Reading with a 4-3 victory. A bit of a outscoring contest, that one. Stoke, on the other hand, also lost an outscoring contest against Fulham, but that's no disgrace to lose to Fulham like that. They actually scored 2 goals and actually limited Fulham, despite them actually having a bit of a weakened squad. Now with this game, this is really, really tight. You know, I think both teams will enter this, you know, not wanting to lose, and as a result of this, it might mean that both teams cancel each other out. So as a prediction, I'm gonna say a 1-1 draw. I think both teams will get a point in this game. FIFA has gone for a 1-0 Huddersfield win. Next up, we've got Barnsley versus Bournemouth. Now, Barnsley would not want to be facing teams from the top part of the table, but if they were wanting to face a team from up there in the table, Bournemouth might be the team they want to face at the moment, because Bournemouth have had back-to-back defeats and have lost 4 games in their last 6 matches. But Barnsley, on the other hand, are on another level of inconsistent. I mean, they are on a winless streak of 10 straight games. 4 defeats in those last 6 games as well. It really means that if Barnsley are not careful within 2 game weeks, they can start being cut adrift. I mean, already they are 8 points off safety and 6 points behind 22nd place Peterborough. I mean, a couple of wins for Barnsley, then their season looks a lot better, and a win, you know, would definitely help their cause. But against a Bournemouth team, which I think they're going to have Anthony and Zamora return into the squad, both having an injury very, very recently, but I think both will be returning. I think it might help Bournemouth going forward. Barnsley, at the moment, I still don't really back their squad to get anything in this game. I know it's a home game, and Barnsley typically are quite tricky customer at home, but this season it's just been miserable. Their season's just been clouded with players just struggling with confidence, lack of identity. Bournemouth, despite their poor form, I think they might go back to winning ways. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 away victory to Bournemouth. FIFA has gone for a 1-0 away victory. Next game to predict is Fulham going up against Blackpool. Now, the reverse fixture of this game was one of the most shocking results of the season. Blackpool picked up one of their first wins of the season beating, at the time, first place Fulham. It was an unbelievable result for Blackpool, and it really kick-started their season. It was Shane Lavery with the only goal in the game, and they defended heroically. Now, Blackpool recently have dropped a bit, but they have won back-to-back games recently, meaning they're really starting to solidify their place in a very comfortable mid-table position. You don't really see them going down at this stage of the season, being 16 points clear of the bottom three. Fulham, on the other hand, are trying to pull away themselves. They're 5 points ahead of second place Blackburn, with a game in hand over them as well, so they can stretch that lead to 8 points if they pick up a good result in this game, and of course if Blackburn don't pick up a good result in their game. So I think Fulham will be looking at this game wanting for some revenge. Obviously it was a bit of a setback for them for when they lost against Blackpool. It was actually their most trickiest time of the season. I think as a prediction, despite Wilson and Mitrovic may not being available, they had illness recently, which is why they originally missed the game against Stoke. I think what we saw with the likes of Bobby Reed, Rodrigo, Muniz, Leeskens, Cabano still with that squad, it's just so heavily attacking, and I think a team just way too good for the championship. So as a prediction, I'm going to go with a 3-1 victory to Fulham. FIFA has gone for a 2-0 victory to Fulham. Next game is Hull going up against Swansea. Now, this is very interesting for me to predict. Now, Hull have recently changed managers. It was a pretty quick turnaround. Grant McCann was dismissed of his job this week, and it got in a new manager, one of the worst kept secrets because even I knew who it was from Monday. It was Shota Arveladze. Now, I'm going to really practice trying to say his last name because I've really been struggling. But for what I've seen, his managerial record, he's managed a lot in Uzbekistan very recently. He had a managerial stint at Maccabi Tel Aviv and won a couple of titles there. Had a bit of a spell in Turkey as well and managed Trabzonspor as well. So the managerial record doesn't really show a serial winner, if that makes sense. And a lot of fans were really questioning this appointment. I think a lot of people actually grown to adore Grant McCann in the end. But if they promise, you know, what the whole board have promised, you know, if they've clearly chosen him for a reason, I think with the way he plays as well, very expansive football, I think it's going to be 4-2-3-1. I think that's his preferred formation. Of course, a bit different to what Hull normally playing with their three at the back, and I think he might stick with that in this game, just so that they're comfortable with it. Swansea have been in a bit of an uprise. You know, obviously they've got a couple of transfers in, you know, the likes of Hannes Wolf. I think he's going to be a brilliant player in that Swansea midfield. This is tough for me to predict. Now, obviously, Hull might take a little bit of time to get used to the new manager, or they could have a big uprise in form, or they could even decrease in form. So you just don't know sometimes, especially with a new manager coming in. I think I might play it safe for now, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. FIFA has gone for a 2-0 away win to Swansea. Next up is Luton going up against Blackburn. Now, Luton were a team with many games in hand, and they were falling as low down to 16th at one stage of the season. But since having that break, Luton have really kick-started their form again. The only game they really were poor since having that big break was losing 2-0 to Sheffield United. But take that away, with their home games, they've been absolutely on it. They've won 4 out of their last 6 games and brilliant home wins, including the likes of Bournemouth and Bristol City very recently. They've got to face a Blackburn side though, which they picked up a brilliant win in midweek against Middlesbrough. That was a very crucial win for them as well. It was a brilliantly taken goal by Gallagher as well. And it just goes to show maybe Blackburn can still perform well without the likes of Ben Broten Diaz. And what I really noticed about their playing style, they're very quick and pacey going forward on the counter-attack. So Luton got to be very careful and prepared for that. Now, both expansive teams, and I think both will be enthralled with a very entertaining game. But I think, as a prediction, once again, I just don't feel like any team's going to win. I think once again, I'm going to play it safe and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, but I could easily be wrong. FIFA has gone for a 1-0 Blackburn win, which would be a huge result for them as they're trying to chase down Fulham. Next up is Middlesbrough going up against Coventry. This is a big result in terms of the top 6. It's Middlesbrough in 8th versus Coventry in 9th. Both of them are wanting to chase down Nottingham Forest and Huddersfield for that top 6 place, and maybe even West Brom if they keep losing their games as well. Now, Coventry picked up a brilliant win in midweek against Stoke City. It was a fantastic result for them, picking up a 1-0 win. Victor Gyökeres scoring a brilliant goal as well. I wonder if he's now returning back to the form that we've seen from him. Now in Middlesbrough, they lost of course against Blackburn, as I said. They were a little bit unlucky. I definitely do think they definitely had the chance, and I think a draw would have been a fairer result. But they've got to take their chances. But I think at home, with how well Chris Wilder set them out, and it's clear to see the improvement this side has got, you know, under Chris Wilder. And I think in this game, not much settles there. I'm so tempted to go for a 1-1 draw again, but I don't want to, you know, stay safe in this game. I've really got to gamble one team. I might edge Middlesbrough for the fact I like Chris Wilder and their squad just a tiny bit more in the way they play. I could easily be wrong though. Coventry have proven me wrong so many times this season. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Middlesbrough. And Fifa's gone for a 1-0 win to Coventry. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if that happens. Next up is Millwall versus West Brom. Now, both teams have not done very well with their form. Millwall falling down to 15th place with 3 defeats in a row. West Brom only 1 win in their last 6 games. 3 defeats in those 6 games as well. And if it continues like this, West Brom will start to fall out of the top 6 entirely. They've played more games than a lot of these teams trying to chase for them. For instance, Middlesbrough, if they win their game against Coventry, and let's say West Brom don't win this game, they'll be joint on points, and in fact, Middlesbrough will have a game in hand over them. So West Brom are living very, very dangerously, and they've got to be very careful with that. They've had some Millwall side, which I think at home they've not been too bad. Their recent home game, they lost 1-0 to Forest, although that was a last-minute goal, and I think a draw was probably the most deserved result that they could have had out of it. And previous to that, they actually had a really good winning streak at home. So as a prediction, I'm so tempted to give Millwall a win. And you know what? I barely back Millwall, but I'm going to back them in this, actually, based on West Brom's poor form. I'm going to say a 1-0 victory to Millwall, but I wouldn't even be surprised if it's a 0-0 draw. And FIFA is actually going to agree with me and say 1-0 Millwall. Next up, we've got Preston, and they play Bristol City. Preston normally enjoy playing against Bristol City because they're undefeated in 16 out of their last 17 appearances against this team. However, Bristol City have had the better of Preston in their last 2 meetings, beating them at Ashton Gate and actually managing to draw with them in their last game as well. A 0-0 draw in the end, which was a pretty dull game. But with Preston's resurgence under Ryan Lowe, I actually think he is going to really improve Preston's season. I don't know if they're going to have Daniel Johnson. He played for Jamaica quite recently. Some reports saying he will be available, some reports saying he will not. So very touch and go whether Daniel Johnson is going to be available for that. But they even did really well without Daniel Johnson with that game against West Brom. A 2-0 victory, the only team to beat West Brom at the Hawthorns this season so far. And Cameron Archer scoring on his debut, and I think he'll be handed a full debut in this game because he was so impressive in that game. Against Bristol City, they are a tricky team to predict. I think maybe they might try and get Tim Close into the squad. Maybe he's not quite ready for that yet, but at least Bristol City are making some good signings into that squad. I think, having said that, I think it'll be a close game, but I think Preston will edge out with a win. I'm going to say a 2-1 win to Preston, and they'll continue their brilliant form under Ryan Lowe. You just feel something good is happening with Preston at the moment, so I'm going to continue on that good trend. And FIFA is actually going to say 3-1 Preston. Next up is QPR going up against Reading. Now, QPR have a really atrocious record against Reading, but if there's any season that QPR can beat Reading, I think it will be this one. There's not much hope for me when it goes on to Reading at the moment. Their only fortunate thing about, you know, their recent games is for the fact that Peterborough, who just barely were drawing them on points, managed to throw 2 points away, drawing to Birmingham in midweek. So Reading still 2 points above, but they really need to win. You know, they've got an extended winless streak alongside with their relegation rivals Cardiff as well. They really got to try and resolve something and start pulling away from the bottom 3, because right now, with their confidence and the amount of goals they're leaking, they are going to be a favourite, I think, who could be dragged down there, especially if Derby continue with their form too. Against QPR, who are 4th place right now, and I tell you what, they do have a game in hand with a lot of the teams in the top 6 as well, and they'll definitely be feeling that they can push for automatic promotion too. As a prediction, despite the absentees of QPR with Dieng and of course Chair with the Africa Cup of Nations, I still think their squad is strong enough, and despite Lucas João returning to Reading, I don't think it'll be enough. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a QPR 2-1 win. and FIFA has gone for a 2-0 Reading win, which is an unbelievable result. Next up, we've got Peterborough against Sheffield United. Now, in midweek, we finally saw something that we didn't really see a lot from Peterborough, which was to actually really attack a team away from home. And funny enough, it was Birmingham, who was one of the few teams they managed to beat at home this season. They had 2 brilliant performances against this Birmingham side. They were 2-0 up and definitely should have had the game wrapped up. They were 2-0 up until the 85th minute, and within 3 minutes, Birmingham, fair play to them, they pulled it back, and they did so very, very well. But the way that Peterborough threw that away, do they know how important that game was? And to even have that scoreline as well, they need to manage the game not only just to the 85th minute, but to the whole 90 minutes. I think Peterborough would feel very disappointed in themselves in this result. Now, at home, Peterborough have picked up great results before, but they're facing the Sheffield United side, which they're looking a little bit more consistent with their results. 4 wins in their last 6, only 1 defeat in those last 6 games. And I think Sheffield United, with the fact they smashed this team last time, 6-2 at Bramall Lane, I think Sheffield United have some comfort playing against this team. So as a prediction, I hate to say it for Peterborough fans, but I'm going to say a 3-1 away victory to Sheffield United. Fifa's going to back you on the other hand with a 1-0 win, which is absolutely amazing. We've now made it to Sunday's games. Derby play Birmingham. Now, there's been a lot of media speculation on Twitter that both of these set of fans are really going to make a protest for both of their clubs. It's going to be a very interesting atmosphere to see what we have ensuing in Pride Park. The only good news that I see with Derby is that their deadline has been extended by 1 month to try and prove their fundings, and I think is a little bit more realistic. Birmingham have not had it pretty either. You know, Birmingham have been really teetering on mediocrity for so long. Still in 18th place they lie, and despite picking up a win quite recently, which was actually a really, really nice win over Barnsley, it's against Barnsley, bottom of the table, and they're still, for me, really, you know, short of something that they can achieve. They have made some brilliant signings of Bakuna and Lyle Taylor, but I don't think they're going to be ready in time for this game. As a prediction, I think, based on Derby's strong home record, I'm going to back them with a 1-0 win. I don't think there'll be many goals in this game. FIFA is also going to agree with me. And the last game to predict is Cardiff against Nottingham Forest. Once again, I just don't think there'll be many goals in this game. Cardiff, I think, are going to try and, you know, shut out Nottingham Forest, of course, with some brilliant form right now. Nottingham Forest have picked up 4 wins in their last 6, including a 3-game winning streak. Now, they have to do a little bit of catch-up. They are only within 1 point behind Huddersfield, having played the same amount of games. So they'll be hoping Huddersfield slip up in the weekend and Nottingham Forest can really capture that place. So the top 6 race is really hotting up this year, and I'm really, really excited to see how each result takes place. Cardiff, on the other hand, they've got to try and increase the gap from relegation, a bit similar to what I talked about with Reading. You know, 1 win for Peterborough and it can suck Cardiff right in danger. So they've really got to try and get something from it. And I think the squad players they've got are good enough to get them out of it, but I just think they've got a lack of confidence. As a prediction, despite Cardiff doing quite well against Bristol City, I still think Forest will edge Cardiff. I just think they are the better team at the moment. I just think the squad and the way they play, the identity they play, and the confidence, I think, will ultimately set them apart. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-0 away win to Nottingham Forest. FIFA is gone for a 0-0 draw, which honestly I wouldn't even be surprised with. So that is all of my predictions for the Championship clubs this weekend. Make sure you comment your predictions for the Championship in the comments down below. So if you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It just tremendously helps the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button if you've not done so, as we're trying to push to 1,000 subscribers. That'll be terrifically appreciative. And please share this channel to as many people as you can. All of that really helps the growth of this channel. But that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care, everyone.